What's going on YouTube? Today I bring you my Week 7 predictions for the 2021 NFL season. We are currently 60 and 34, so we're doing good, still trying to hit that 2-to-1 ratio on predictions, and I do expect to hit that this week. I'm feeling pretty confident. Are you feeling confident about your predictions? Let me know in the comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe and like as well. I did just upload a video on my quarterback rankings with Ian Cummings of PFN, so if you want to go check that out, it's right there on my channel. And let's get into this week's predictions. And starting out with our Thursday night football game, I'm doing it again, but I feel more confident than I've been in the past with this one. I'm taking the Broncos over the Browns. If the Browns had, either Baker or Nick Chubb, I'd be taking them. But when you have Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Odell Beckham, potentially Jarvis Landry, your right tackle, I'm pretty sure their left tackle might be hurt as well. For me personally, that's just too much to overcome. I think the Browns will make it a close game, but especially when you take into consideration how they've been playing recently, and now you're adding all these other injuries to it. I mean, Baker at the very least could still do something for you, but I think a hurt Baker is still much better than Case Keenum, which, speaking of, the Broncos are playing Case Keenum. Most of the time you're going to look at that as a revenge game, and I view it more of a revenge game for the Broncos after the way Case Keenum played for them when they signed him, 4 years ago now? Yeah, I mean, Thursday Night Football, the thing is with both of these teams is that both of them need to get back on track. They've both started to slip, and for me, I just think there's really no way the Broncos can blow this game, because if they do, at that point, you're pretty much, your season's done. If you're losing to such an injured team like the Browns like this, your season is done. The Broncos are also hurt, but not enough to where they should be losing to a team with literally no offense. They're going to struggle. I think they will still be able to get points on a very defense that's been really poor for the Broncos this year. But I think the Broncos are definitely going to outscore the Browns, and I ultimately have them pulling this off. And this is also my betting game of the week. Sure, the Broncos could definitely blow this game, and if they do, it's pretty much time to rebuild. I mean, that means fire Fangio, rebuild the team. But I think they win this one because there's just simply no way they can lose it, because they're putting themselves back years if they do lose this game. And so I am taking the Broncos 24-20 on Thursday Night Football. Then moving on, we have the Chiefs at the Titans, and Chiefs still big favorites, honestly, bigger than they should be. I don't feel extremely confident in this prediction, especially since the Chiefs offense can still put up points, and I do think this will be a high-scoring game. I'm taking the Titans in this one. Derrick Henry, the dude's just been going off. I mean, to me, he's pretty much like he's an MVP candidate right now. So he's for sure the Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, and he deserves to repeat it. He's on pace for the greatest rushing season of all time. The dude's just a monster. He's going to eat up this Chiefs defense, who has struggled tremendously on both, pass and run defense. But I mean, again, Derrick Henry is just going to destroy this defense. And, the Chiefs offense, they'll be able to move the ball. They will be able to put up points. They're still going to make those stupid turnovers that they've been making, but they're going to put up points. The Titans defense is not very good. I mean, they've had a few guys starting to rise. Harold Landry's starting to play really well. Caleb Farley is now done for the year, though, I believe. And so, that is a hit to the secondary. So all things considered, I think this will be a good high-scoring game. But I ultimately still have the Titans pulling this one out at home, just because Derrick Henry, again, going to eat up these Titans, and they're not the hardest team to pass against, which should mean, Tannehill should get going at least a little bit. And it would be really weird. It would be really weird to see the Chiefs dip under 500 3 times, but I was right with the Bills game, and I feel kind of confident with this one. Or not confident, that's not the right word, but I do think this happens, although I'm not exactly the most confident. Then we have Washington in Green Bay, and I think Green Bay takes care of business pretty well here. I've been pretty accurate on Washington so far, and accurate on the Packers. Yeah, Packers, they've been rolling. Devontae Adams playing great. I mean, he's probably the second offensive player of the year after Henry. Aaron Rodgers just still doing his thing. When that whole thing started at the beginning, I was telling people like stop freaking out over the Packers, and they've been fine even with Jair Alexander and Zadarius Smith hurt. Just signed Whitney Merciless, which is going to be some nice pass rush help. So Green Bay, they got things going for them. Washington, they are down in the dumps, and at home, I'm going to take Green Bay to win this one pretty easily on Sunday. Then we got the Bengals at the Ravens, and pretty interesting, but it's my game of the week. I think this is going to be a great game. Baltimore pretty heavily favored, but the Bengals have just been downright good this year, and I'm glad. This is not a team where I feel as much mad at myself for getting wrong because I was really hoping that they did do better than what I gave them as a prediction, and they have been. The defense has thankfully been really good. Jamar Chase is having possibly even a better rookie season than Justin Jefferson, which is insane to think about. And I'm really pretty much the unanimous offensive rookie of the year. He is legitimately in running for offensive player of the year. Joe Burrow just going off. That offensive line has been an issue, but it's not as much of an issue as we thought it would be. You can still upgrade it, and that's just to think that this team, is still going to be upgrading from this young team that in some areas does lack playmakers, and it's just kind of crazy to think this team can get even better quickly. And with the Ravens, though, I mean, the Ravens are just good right now. I mean, I took them to loss against the Chargers, but they just dismantled them. The Ravens are a pretty good team. Losing Ronnie Stanley for the year, that hurts. That hurts real bad. And I think that kind of takes their chances out of the Super Bowl just because it is so important to have that elite blindside tackle, and not having him, like I just said, it hurts bad. So I don't think that they can really make it to that kind of a stage at this point. The defense still has been pretty poor in some ways. And that's why I think the Bengals will be in this game. That defense is going to keep them in the game. And the offense will do their thing. But at the end of the day, I do still think Lamar and the Ravens pull this one out in Baltimore. Then we have the Panthers at the Giants, and I mean, Panthers definitely looking for a rebound week. Similar to the Broncos, they kind of got to win this one after slipping so hard, and the Giants are one of the easiest opponents to do that. You take a Panthers team that is fighting for something. Stephon Gilmore is on pace to start this week. Sam Darnold did have a bit of a rebound from, that horrible week against the Eagles. All that considered, I think that versus a pretty horrible Giants team, I feel like you got to be able to rebound from that one. And again, like I said, this is the right team to do it. So I do have the Panthers pulling off this one here in week 7. And I mean, I feel pretty confident about it, but I wouldn't be shocked if New York won this game, but it would be a little surprising to me. Then we have the Falcons coming off their bye week to play the Dolphins in Miami. And, I took the Dolphins to win in London against Jacksonville, and they couldn't even do that. I was a guy that was not very high on the Dolphins, definitely lower than most people were, and they've been even worse than I predicted. Now, here's the crazy thing is that, there's all these rumors going on right now about Deshaun Watson, and obviously, trading for him right now is not going to affect the team currently positively because, Watson's not playing. If he was traded today, he's not playing, anytime in the near future. And that's even if he does get traded. If anything, it's just hurting you because you're losing pieces. I mean, if you're going to trade for Deshaun Watson, you're probably going to be losing a pass rusher, potentially Xavier Howard, for a defense that's already underperformed majorly this year. And you might even be losing one of those receivers. So, and also potentially Tua. If you're trading Tua to get Watson, whether it's to the Texans or not, or maybe they stick with Tua for the time being. Who knows? Either way, they're not upgrading, so it's not that big a factor. But of course, just wanted to throw that out there. They may trade away a few players, which hurts them even more. Falcons, I mean, you're coming off a bye week. You're rested. The offense, I feel like it should be able to get going pretty well against this Dolphins defense, which again has just been very disappointing. And the defense, I've never really viewed the Dolphins as that good of an offense. Tua, I mean, maybe with these rumors heats it up a little bit, but I don't really see it being close. So I have the Falcons winning by 2 scores in Miami. Then we have the Jets heading over to the Patriots. Jets also coming off their bye week, and I mean, it's pretty tough, to start out so poorly. You get a week of rest, and then your first game back is against the Patriots in Foxborough. Now, the Patriots have not been very good themselves this year. definitely much less than I thought they would be. The defense has been good and Mac Jones has been good, but they just, as a team, have not been able to get clicking. This is definitely the game for them to get clicking. New York, I don't see it being this game. I just think that was a fluke win in Tennessee, and I was a guy that was a bit higher on the Jets. I had them at 6-11. I did like their team and their foundation. I don't think this is the game to get going. I think they drop down to 1-5. And the Patriots improve their record by a little bit to hopefully try to get back into that playoff race. So I have New England finishing this one out strong in Foxborough. Then we have the Eagles in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas, they looked like they had new life against the Broncos last week. And part of that probably just because the Broncos were playing so god awful. I think there's a bit there that's a bit overrated. Max Crosby played great at the same time he was playing. Bobby Massey. They had a lot of big plays and stuff, but there was also a fair amount of plays on the Broncos where they just simply messed up. They're going for the ball and they just completely just missed the ball. So there was a lot of mistakes like that that definitely helped the Raiders, and I do think the Eagles defense is better than the Broncos defense as of right now, just with the way the Broncos are playing. And I was at that Raiders Broncos game, so I got to see firsthand, like how many of those little mistakes Denver was making, and it was still a closer game. So I'm still lower on the Raiders than a lot of people. I still think that they're going to finish the year out pretty poorly. The defense looks good, but I think with an interim coach, things are going to be tough. I think they beat the Eagles and by 2 scores. I just think the Eagles, again, also a team that I don't like that much, but I do think the Raiders are better than the Eagles. Raiders, probably a bit better than they already are a bit better than I expected this year, but I still expect them to finish this year out not the best, and kind of look forward to next year. Same thing with the Eagles, but I'm taking Las Vegas in Las Vegas. Then the blowout of the week with the Lions. And by the way, these Sunday games, like Sunday afternoon games, just suck this week. There's some cool storylines here. Obviously you have Matt Stafford in his new stadium playing his old team. I don't think he's gonna hold back. Sometimes you can have those friendly rivalries like Tom Brady and the Patriots. Although there might be some bad blood there. I don't think it's any secret that Matthew Stafford probably hates the Lions for, pretty much wasting his career for 10 years there. Rams have been dominating teams. Lions have been sucking. It's pretty obvious to me. I don't see the Rams winning this, or I don't see the Rams losing this game for sure. I'm locking this one in. And I think Matthew Stafford goes off against his former team and wins 42-6. Then we have the Buccaneers playing the Bears in Tampa. Bears, they've been a little. I think the record's better than they really are. Fields, like, he's made some nice plays, and I keep saying this every week, but it's true every week to me. He's made some nice plays, but for the most part, he's just not been good. He's just not been able to put up the production, and I want to see more than just the occasional nice play. I want to see a guy who looks like the future of a team. And the more and more I see Justin Fields, I'm just starting to think more and more that I don't think Matt Nagy and the Bears actually wanted to take Fields. I just think taking a quarterback in that situation when he fell was the only thing they felt that could save their jobs. Because let's be honest, if Andy Dalton had led this team to like 1 or 2 wins, Nagy's definitely gone after this year, but maybe even fired at the halfway point. And so I don't think even the Bears really wanted Justin Fields. And I was not very high on him when he got drafted there. They've not been the best. And then you take the Buccaneers, who have one of the NFL's elite offenses right now. Their defense is struggling to put things together. It's injured. They're struggling to get pressure. Still better than the Bears, though. And so I am going to take the Buccaneers to cover here. Are they covering? Yeah, they're covering. Math. I will take the Buccaneers to cover here in Tampa. Bears, they'll get a couple touchdowns, but nothing more. And then, like I said, these Sunday afternoon games suck, but we have the Texans in Arizona. And I think Arizona extends to 7-0. I will say this every single week this season, likely, but that 8-9 projected thing is hurting. And I will say this every weekend, too. Week 2. I had them at 13-4 and a point, just got lower. They proved me wrong. Byron Murphy still playing great. Kyler Murray, my MVP, in my opinion. The team's just clicking. Offensive line's great, and they were never as bad as people thought they were. I never understood the hate behind it. And Cliff Kingsbury truly has evolved into an actual head coach. You take the Texans, who, besides week one, have just been horrible for the most part. Though, again, the stuff with Deshaun Watson, you might be getting a few pieces, but you're still going to have Davis Mills playing for you at quarterback after this. Because Tua, we've known for a while that they weren't interested in Tua. So I mean, and me, I wouldn't like him even if they did have Tua. But either way, not much is going to change if you do trade for Watson. You're just going to get a few pieces probably. Even then, not enough to beat the Cardinals. And so I am predicting a shutout here in Arizona. And the Cardinals improve to 7-0. Then our Sunday night game. 49ers off a bye to play the Colts at home. Teams that are struggling right now. I've been extremely accurate with both of these teams so far. And, by the way, the 49ers were not predicted to be 6-11. I had them at 12-5. I don't know why that's there, but it's 12-5 projected for the 49ers. So I did like them a bit more than the Colts, obviously. And again, Colts, a team that I was not very high on, and they've just not been good this year. Niners, Jimmy G doesn't sound like he's playing, so Trey Lance is going to get the start against the Colts, and that's the downfall for me because the Colts defense has been extremely good recently. Trey Lance, I do not think is ready to take on a defense of this caliber, especially if he's starting all night long. The defense for the Niners is good, and it will keep Carson Wentz under wraps for the most part, I think. I had a few people, argue with me about Carson Wentz. He had a good game, but I still don't think he's a good quarterback. He still makes a lot of those mistakes of just, holding on to the ball too long, taking those sacks, not hitting those throws when they're there. He gets big yards, and, it's led to a couple wins. But for the most part, Colts, I don't like their offense, but I definitely like their defense a bit more. And so I am going to take the Colts in a close, kind of bad game, but a close defensive game in San Francisco as the 49ers fall. Even though I predicted them to be 12-5, 2-4, not the best place, but I think they can get things going down the stretch of the season. Again, 12-5 projected. And then last but not least, our Monday Night Football game. Another team coming off the bye in the Saints who, hopefully with some rest, they've revitalized themselves and they're ready to come back and be consistently good because the Saints are an interesting team, right? I'm 1-4 on my picks, and that's because when they're good, they're great. But when they're bad, they're horrible. And so that's why they've lost to the Giants, but beat some pretty good teams. And I was taking Seattle last week against the Steelers, but and let's be honest, we knew Russell Wilson was important to that team. Fun fact, Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote his entire career, and he is arguably the most valuable player to any team in the league. And I think that just showed against the Steelers, the fact that, they looked as bad as they did. And that's really unfortunate. Seahawks, I was a team that I was lower on. And I mean, that wasn't because I predicted a Russell Wilson injury. In fact, this is actually the first time he's ever missing time for injury as a Seahawk, which is also incredible. Really does show you how great Russell Wilson is and kind of, I wouldn't say they've wasted his career. I mean, he went to 2 Super Bowls and won one, but I think he could have definitely won more than one if not for being on the Seahawks. And I think that's starting to show. So I am going to take the Saints in a close game here in Seattle. Even with home field advantage, I just think the Saints getting that week of rest, they're able to come back and hit really hard this week against a poor, Seahawks defense, and that offense just not as good. Even with DK, Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, I think Lockett's actually been hurt. Correct me if I'm wrong. Even with that, Geno Smith, he's looked okay at times, but he's a backup, and I don't think he can handle a really good Saints defense. So I'm going to take the Saints here in Seattle. But those are my predictions for this week, you guys. Like I said, if you like the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Going to be doing a bunch of positional rankings. I've got currently over 300 guys scouted. And yeah, so without further ado, let me end this video by saying bye-bye. Thanks for watching.